Hello everyone and welcome to... This is Europe, and here's Slovakia. Now come on, let's go, shall we? The first people to tread into Slovakia all those ancient years ago found a land thick with forest and barbed with mountains, and they sheltered themselves in caves such as this one in the country's southwest. As the centuries passed, the inhabitants began farming and tinkering with metals, and became part of the broad realm of Celtic influence. Subsequent centuries brought different invasions. The Germans and Romans had a long three-part war here that the Romans eventually won. The final battle of which was depicted, very inaccurately, in the movie Gladiator. In the 4th century, the Eurasian nomadic warriors known as the Huns swept into the region too, stirring up the usual chaos. More arrivals followed as Rome crumbled, but the most lasting were the ones who actually lasted in the area, namely the Slavs. The 5th and 6th centuries saw a vast migration of Slavic tribes into southern and eastern Europe. The Slavs who settled here would coalesce into the people groups we know as Poles, Czechs and Slovaks. The Slovaks formed their own state in the 9th century, but it soon ended up absorbed into the Czech region of Moravia.
That's Great Moravia.
Yes, Great Moravia.
Yes, and don't be forgetting it, you upstart whippersnapper.
The West Slavs, meanwhile, had rejected paganism in favor of Christianity. In the early 900s, the Hungarians swept in and conquered Slovak lands. Barring a few interruptions, the Hungarians ruled over Slovakia for the next 1,000 years. What happened in all this time? Well, in the 1200s, the Mongols invaded and caused the usual death and destruction, killing around 1/3 of the population. The kingdom bulked up its defences as a result of the devastation. This enormous castle was built in Slovakia, and when the Mongols invaded again, they were crushed and never posed a threat again. Now, sometime later, when the Ottomans started invading Hungary, the capital was moved to Pressburg, which is today called Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. Now, somehow, after all those hundreds of years and scores of conflicts, the Slovaks had managed to retain their identity, language and culture. In 1848, the Slovaks arose in a revolution for independence, which did not succeed. Slovaks and their neighbours the Czechs were getting more and more sick of foreign occupation, and in 1918, after World War I, they decided to fuse together and become one independent democratic state called Czechoslovakia. Things went pretty well, then not pretty well, then not pretty at all. Yep, Hitler invaded. Slovakia became a client state of Germany and joined the Germans in their 1939 invasion of Poland, which triggered the Second World War. Many Slovaks, however, were unhappy with their collaborationist government and rose up to overthrow it. They failed, but after the war, Czechoslovakia was reformed. The Slovak president was executed, and the reunified Czech-Slovak nation became a communist state. Industrialization increased amidst heavy societal repression and an economy that grew steadily inert. As the Cold War concluded in the late 20th century, with capitalism victorious, communism was overthrown in Czechoslovakia in the Velvet Revolution, which was then followed by the Velvet Divorce, in which the Czech and Slovak states split apart to be separate independent nations. Why were these events labelled velvet? Because they went smoothly. No fiery, frenzied mayhem, though I believe someone stepped on this guy's toes. Otherwise, all good. And Slovakia's transition to a market economy was highly successful, and it experienced tremendous growth in the early 21st century, in which time it also joined the EU and NATO. Slovakia today enjoys a very high level of human development, strong GDP, and high quality of life. So that's it for the beautiful nation of Slovakia, and that's all from me for now. Bye-bye!